1934, a mining engineer named G. Warren Shufelt stood in the middle of Fort Moore Hill in LA with a device he called a radio X-ray. This wasn't some tinfoil hat hobbyist. He was an expert in geophysics. He claimed his device had pierced the earth and mapped a literal fan-shaped city of tunnels, chambers and vaults stretching from the library to the Southwest Museum. He didn't find dirt. He found architecture. Shufelt was so convinced of what he saw that he struck a deal with the city council to drill a 250-foot shaft. He told the LA Times that he was looking for gold tablets belonging to a prehistoric race. But just as his drill bit hit something that wasn't stone, something metallic and hollow, the city suddenly pulled his permit. They didn't just stop the dig, they filled the hole with concrete and redacted the survey maps. For 90 years, the official story has been that Shufelt was a crazy dreamer. But if he was crazy, why does the modern Hollywood map look exactly like his hallucination? If you look at the construction permits for the mega mansions being built in the Hollywood Hills today, you'll see a terrifying trend. Iceberg architecture. The ultra-wealthy aren't building up anymore, they're building down. We are talking about 5, 6, 7-story subterranean bunkers featuring private cinemas, bowling alleys, and safe rooms that are more like self-contained biomes. These aren't just basements, they are private kingdoms. Whistleblowers from high-end construction firms have leaked reports of spur tunnels, private, unmapped corridors that connect these residential bunkers to the city's industrial infrastructure. Why would a billionaire need a tunnel that leads directly to a soundstage or a nondescript utility building on Sunset Boulevard? In 2026, we've seen the declassification of the Zorro Ranch files. This is Jeffrey Epstein's New Mexico compound. The documents confirm what we all feared. The property was honeycombed with underground workrooms and a massive industrial-grade elevator system. Hollywood isn't just imitating this. Hollywood pioneered it. Have you ever heard of the Northridge vibrations? Since the early 2000s, residents in the hills have reported low-frequency thuds occurring at 3 a.m. These aren't earthquakes. Earthquakes are a release of tension. These are rhythms. It's the sound of a boring machine, the kind used by Elon Musk's boring company, chewing through quartz. When the city is asked about it, they point to metro rail expansions. But look at the GPS data. The vibrations are happening in dead zones, where no subway is scheduled to be built for another 20 years. Which brings us to the tragedy of Anne Hesh. In August 2022, her car plowed into a house in Mar Vista. The footage of that day is burned into the internet's memory. Not the crash, but the moment the firefighters loaded her into the ambulance. If you watch the raw feed, Anne, who was declared brain dead almost immediately, suddenly sits up and fights to get out of the body bag. Before her death, she was working on a documentary version of her project Girl in Room 13, which centered on the dark reality of human trafficking. Insiders have alleged that she had stumbled onto something during her research. Something involving the movement of people through the very tunnels Shufelt mapped in 1934. Was the accident a warning to others? Or was she trying to escape a system that exists right beneath our feet? Shufelt was laughed at in the 30s. But today, the lizard map coordinates align perfectly with some of the most suspicious utility substations in Los Angeles. These are buildings with no windows, high-voltage fences, and more security than a nuclear silo. They aren't there to keep the lights on for us. They are there to keep the lights on for them. The ground is not solid, and the truth is not on the surface. Because if you want to understand the Epstein files, the Diddy freak-offs, and the disappearance of the industry's most vulnerable, you have to stop looking at the stars on the sidewalk and start looking at the void beneath them. Hollywood's greatest trick isn't what they show you on the silver screen. It's how they make people disappear in broad daylight. If you're a tourist, you see the TCL Chinese Theatre. If you're an A-lister with a level 4 clearance, you see a completely different geography. Welcome to the world of vanished points. Take the Chateau Marmont. It's the most infamous hotel in the world, the site of countless scandals and unfortunate ends. But insiders have long whispered about the sub-level 2 access. There are service elevators in that building that don't appear on the guest buttons. These elevators lead to a series of reinforced concrete corridors built during Prohibition but upgraded in the 80s that connect the hotel to private bungalows across the street and allegedly to a private spur of the LA subway system. Why? Because when a high-profile asset needs to move from a party to a private jet without being seen by a single paparazzi lens or a civilian witness, they don't use the front door, they use the arteries of the elite. Now let's talk about the Big Five studios. Look at Paramount or Warner Brothers. On the surface, they are cities within cities. But beneath the New York street sets and the massive sound stages lies a massive industrial-grade utility network. Officially, it's for steam pipes and cabling. But ask yourself, why are these utility tunnels 10 feet wide and 8 feet high? Why are they equipped with silent electric cart charging stations? In the Sean Diddy Combs investigation, federal agents reportedly began looking into the logistics of his legendary freak-offs. While the media focused on the bottles of baby oil, investigators were looking at the architecture. There are allegations that certain high-end properties in Los Angeles and Miami weren't just houses, they were nodes, whistleblowers from elite security firms. The guys who get paid $200K a year to keep their mouths shut have described silent transit. They describe moving cargo, human cargo, from a private gated estate directly into a subterranean loading bay that connects to a municipal drainage tunnel. By the time the police knock on the front door with a warrant, the evidence is already 3 miles away, surfacing inside a nondescript warehouse in the industrial district. This isn't just conspiracy talk. The people who have lived in this world are trying to tell us. Look at John Cusack's 2014 interview. He didn't just call Hollywood predatory. He said, and I quote, "It's a whorehouse and people go mad." He talked about the predatory nature of the industry as something structural. Then you have Cat Williams, who in his legendary 2024 Club Shay Shay interview practically burned the industry to the ground. He talked about the gatekeepers and the rituals required to enter the upper room, but the most chilling testimony comes from the people who didn't survive the reveal. In the newly unsealed Epstein-Zorro Ranch files, there is a mention of the tunnel tier. These documents describe a system of underground workrooms in New Mexico that were modeled after existing infrastructure in Los Angeles. Why did Anne Hesh crash her car into a house that reportedly sat directly above a mapped utility vein? Why did Isaac Cappy, an actor who spent his final days screaming about underground tunnels and rituals, end up dead on a bridge in the middle of nowhere? Cappy's Dead Man's Switch video was specific. He didn't just say people are bad. He named names and he named places. He talked about the basement culture of the elite, how absolute privacy, provided by the earth itself, creates a moral vacuum. When you have enough money, you don't just buy a bigger house, you buy impunity. If you can move a human being from point A to point B without them ever touching a public sidewalk, you have bypassed the legal system of the United States. No traffic cams, no witnesses, no digital footprint. The tunnels we're talking about aren't just old prohibition relics anymore. They have been privatized. We are looking at a dual-layered society. Above ground, we have the Walk of Fame, the tourists, and the Hollywood dream. Below ground, we have the shadow economy. Next, we're going deeper. We're moving past the utility tunnels and into the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases. Because the shadow city underneath doesn't just stop at the studio lots and Hollywood mansions. It connects to something much, much larger. For decades, the Prepper was a guy in camo living in the woods. In 2026, the Prepper is a CEO in a bespoke suit living 500 feet under Bel Air. We are currently witnessing the greatest migration in human history, and it's happening vertically. Companies like Vivos and Rising S Bunkers are reporting record-breaking profits. But they aren't just selling storm shelters anymore. They are selling the Airy, a $300 million project set to open this year that features asylum memberships for the global 1%. These complexes are designed with biophilic courtyards that simulate sunlight, AI-managed robotic medical staff, and enough hydroponic tech to last for decades. But look at the map. The highest concentration of these life insurance estates is right here, in the unstable soil of Southern California. Why would the smartest money in the world build their forever homes on the San Andreas Fault? Unless the fault isn't the danger. Unless the fault is the cover. In early 2026, a new wave of ghost spikes began appearing on private seismic sensors across the San Fernando Valley. Local residents in Northridge and Reseda have been posting videos of their floorboards rattling at 2:45 a.m., not with the sudden jolt of a tectonic shift, but with a persistent low-frequency hum. Engineers call these industrial signatures. They are the rhythmic vibrations of a TBM, a tunnel boring machine. When you check the official city planning maps, there is no metro construction scheduled under these neighborhoods. When you check the utility maps, there are no sewage projects. Yet the ground is humming. Scientists are currently baffled by tiny low-frequency earthquakes revealing a complex fault system that doesn't align with our previous understanding of the crust. Is it a fault? Or is it a construction site the public isn't supposed to see? Enter the Boring Company. Elon Musk's public-facing goal is to solve traffic with the Vegas Loop. But skeptics have noticed a strange pattern in 2026. While the public projects in Nashville and Vegas face delays and struggling valuations, the company's private sector work is exploding. There are persistent reports of private spurs, tunnel exits that lead directly into the basements of private aerospace hangars and black site corporate headquarters. Think about the physics. If you have a proof rock machine, which can now dig continuously without stopping, you can create a web of high-speed maglev transit that exists entirely outside the Department of Transportation's oversight. This is the infrastructure of the separation. The standard subway sits at 30 meters. It's loud, it's dirty, and it's for us. But there is a second layer existing at the 500-meter mark. This is the deep tier, a pressurized high-speed network that allows the elite to travel from a studio lot in Burbank to a safe zone in the Mojave Desert in under 10 minutes. While we're stuck in 405 traffic, there is a silent world moving beneath us at max speeds. The bunkers aren't just for the end of the world, they are for the now. They are the way the elite withdraw from a society they no longer plan to save. And as we'll see next, when you build a city with no windows and no witnesses, the things that happen in the dark stay in the dark. Up until now, we've looked at the how, the concrete, the billions, the engineering. But to understand the why, you have to stop thinking like a contractor and start thinking like an initiate. Researchers have now begun mapping the sacred geometry of Los Angeles. They've discovered that the primary ventilation shafts for the deep-tier tunnel systems aren't placed randomly. They align with specific astronomical markers. The Getty Center, the Griffith Observatory, and the Hollywood sign form a perfect isosceles triangle, a shape often cited in Hermetic texts as a portal of manifestation. In the occult tradition, the underworld isn't just a place to hide. It's a place of transmutation. By taking their most sensitive activities 500 meters underground, the elite aren't just escaping the law, they are performing rituals in a void space where the magnetic frequency of the Earth is fundamentally different. Leaked blueprints from a subterranean luxury firm revealed the existence of acoustically perfect vaults located directly beneath major studio boardrooms. These aren't offices. They are designed as cisterns, vast circular rooms with water features intended to amplify sound frequencies. Whistleblowers from the high-end catering industry. People who have been vetted to serve at these private gatherings have described the descent. They describe being taken down service elevators where the air suddenly turns cold and smells of ozone and expensive incense. They describe silent banquets where A-list celebrities and political figures wear monochromatic robes. The claim? These cisterns are used for vibrational rituals, chanting or frequency baths designed to cement the collective ego of the industry's top tier. This is the upper room Cat Williams hinted at, but located in the lower depths. When you are that powerful, you don't worship a god, you attempt to become one. There is a darker theory currently circulating in the dark web iceberg communities, the blood soil hypothesis. It suggests that the literal soil of Hollywood, rich in quartz and magnetite, acts as a storage device for emotional energy. Think about it. Hollywood is the dream factory. It produces the world's most intense emotions, lust, terror, awe. If you believe in the occult principle of Loosh, the idea that intense human emotion can be harvested as a form of energy, then the tunnels aren't just hallways, they are conduits. By conducting rituals in the quartz-rich earth beneath the city, the architects believe they can anchor the collective subconscious of the global audience. This is why the tunnels are so vital. It's not just about moving people, it's about charging the ground with the energy of the rituals, so that the magic of the movies on the surface remains potent. When Isaac Cappy spoke about rituals in the dark, he wasn't talking about Saturday morning cartoon villains. He was talking about a sophisticated, thousands of years old system of symbolic control. The elite don't see themselves as criminals. They see themselves as priest kings. They believe that by dwelling in the abyss, the tunnels, they gain the right to rule the light. But these underground temples aren't just fueled by belief. They are fueled by a staggering amount of untraceable currency. To build a world that defies human morality, you first need a financial system that exists entirely off the books of the United States government. We are moving out of the realm of the spiritual and into the cold, hard reality of the black budget, where trillions of missing dollars aren't just lost, they're being laundered into the bedrock of the earth. In December 2025, the Pentagon failed its 8th consecutive audit. The number of unaccounted-for assets has ballooned into the trillions. To the average taxpayer, that's just a bureaucratic glitch. But to anyone tracking the Shadow City, that money isn't missing. It's been liquidated into the earth. This is the world of the black budget. We are talking about SAP's special access programs that are so classified they exist outside the oversight of the President and Congress. These programs are the financial lifeblood of the tunnel systems we've been mapping. But here's the kicker. The Pentagon doesn't just fund these tunnels. They use Hollywood as their primary research and development wing. Most people don't realize that the Department of Defense has a literal office in the heart of Los Angeles, the Entertainment Liaison Office. If a director wants to use a real tank, a fighter jet, or a soundstage that looks like a high-tech bunker, they have to submit their script to the Pentagon for approval. If the script doesn't align with the military's narrative, the assets are pulled. But new declassifications suggest the relationship goes deeper. There are allegations that certain sci-fi sets built on major studio lots were actually subsidized by the black budget to act as dual-use prototypes. When a studio builds a massive, pressurized underground set for a space movie, they are essentially field-testing the life support and shielding technology that is being installed in the deep-tier bunkers we discussed before. Hollywood builds the fictional version to hide the functional version in plain sight. Why do the Epstein files mention military-grade transit? Because the DOJ updates reveal a terrifying intersection. The Zorro Ranch in New Mexico wasn't just a private getaway. It was located less than 50 miles from some of the most sensitive underground testing sites in the world. The documents suggest the existence of a subterranean maglev rail that connects the basement levels of major aerospace contractors in Los Angeles, like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman, directly to these deep-tier military hubs. This is why the Boring Company spurs we talked about are so suspicious. They aren't for cars, they are the civilian covers for a military logistics network that moves black project materials and black project people across the country without a single satellite ever seeing them. When an actor like Isaac Cappy or a whistleblower like Phil Schneider speaks about underground bases, they are talking about the intersection of the corporate, the cinematic, and the military. The Pentagon provides the black budget funding. The Hollywood studios provide the cover and the architectural R&D, and the elite provide the cargo. This is the triad of the tunnels. It's a closed loop where the billions taken from the public are used to build a world that the public is legally barred from entering. But a budget that large isn't just buying military power, privacy, and high-speed transit. It's buying a total blackout of the laws of nature and human rights. Trillions of dollars have effectively carved out a lawless zone beneath the crust, where the only limit is how much the human body can endure in total isolation. To understand the true cost of this infrastructure, we have to stop looking at the ledgers and start listening to the echoes from the abyss. The true horror of the tunnels is something much darker than we imagine. Let's talk about consumption. Black site memos allegedly leaked from a high-security courier firm in Nevada hinted at the cold chain logistics. This isn't food, it's biologics. Whistleblowers from the nursing industry, those who have been silenced by NDAs, have described the lower-level clinics. They aren't treating the flu. They are performing parabiosis, the literal transfusion of blood from the young into the old to reverse aging. When a star or a CEO looks 30 years younger than they should, you have to ask where that vitality is being sourced. In the deep-tier bunkers, there is no ethical board. There are only donors who are moved through the vanish points we discussed before, kept in a state of biological suspension in the quartz-rich quiet of the earth. Then there is the acoustic reality. You might remember the Havana syndrome, the mysterious brain injuries suffered by US diplomats. In 2024, a rogue engineer from a major aerospace contractor claimed that the seismic spikes we hear under LA aren't always boring machines. Sometimes they are infrasonic tests. He described frequency vaults beneath the Santa Monica Mountains, where the elite test high-frequency crowd control tech. But the horror is in the calibration. He spoke about human subjects used to see how long a person can survive in a 500-meter deep void while being blasted with silent, low-frequency waves designed to induce total psychological collapse. This matches the accounts of Isaac Cappy, who spoke about rooms that make you lose your soul. It's not just a prison, it's a lab for the destruction of the human psyche. There is also the permanent ledger. There are rumors of the existence of a massive underground server farm, a digital bunker located 400 feet below the desert. This is the insurance policy. Insiders claim that the freak-offs and the elite parties weren't just for pleasure. They were filmed liturgies intended to create a permanent record of the most powerful people on Earth, committing the most unspeakable acts. These servers aren't on the cloud. They are in the deep tier, guarded by private military contractors. This is why the system never breaks. If you have a video of a senator or a movie star in a cistern ritual 500 meters underground, you don't just own them, you own the laws they write and the culture they produce. There is also the permanent underground. In the 1990s, whistleblower Phil Schneider spoke about Plan 2029, the idea of a dual society where a segment of the population is moved underground to serve as a shadow workforce for the elite. Think about the missing persons statistics just in Los Angeles. Thousands of people who vanish every year without a single trace on a CCTV camera. There are people down there who have not seen the sun in a decade. They are the plumbers, the electricians, and the service staff for the bunkers. There may also be kidnapped children and people brought down for rituals, sacrifice, and experiments. They are the silent gears in a machine that is literally grinding human lives into the Hollywood dream on the surface. The Hollywood you see is just a projection, a thin veil of light designed to keep your eyes off the ground beneath your feet. But as the billionaires move into the deep and the missing files begin to leak, we have to realize that the basement of the world is getting crowded. The only question left is when the surface finally breaks, will you be the one looking down or the one they're looking for?